YouTube series where we talk about the various different projects which have been done by our data science team. Now, for today's project, I'm going to be talking about a project that I have worked on, right? And we're going to talk about a project which deal with AI enhancement of content generation for different university courses, right? And the idea behind this project is that we want to maintain originality and we want to avoid plagiarism. So, the business problem that we are looking at is that on demand generation of content is not an easy task. Okay. On demand generation of content takes time. Okay. Now, luckily for us, in today's day and age, we have the advent of generative AI, which is going to help us in improving this time frame. Okay, it's going to help us reduce the time it takes. However, there is one major issue we deal with when it comes to the content generation when we are doing it using artificial intelligence generative AI. The problem that we face is that the questions will require a lot of verification. Okay. Our goal in this project is to reduce not only the time that it takes to generate the content, but also to reduce the verification time. And mainly, we are going to focus on one very important aspect of the project, which is reducing the plagiarism. So, our business objective is to maximize content generation quality with the minimum possible time. So, we want to maximize content generation by while we are actively working on reducing the time it takes for that content to be generated. Okay. So we are going to look at the different approaches that we tried. Our constraint here is that we want to minimize plagiarism. Now, plagiarism happens when there is content which is copied from a different source. This is a very common problem that we face. A lot of people face this problem. And in order to deal with this problem, we are trying to minimize the plagiarism and we are trying to reduce the time it takes for this plagiarized content. Okay, so let's take a look at the model architecture. Okay, now this is a generative AI project. So the most important thing that we need to understand here is our business problem. Are we able to understand what kind of business problem are we dealing with? Okay, so if you are able to get an understanding of the business problem, from there, we will move towards data acquisition. Now, as such, you don't necessarily require data to be acquired because you expect these large language models to be able to perform the tasks that we are assigning it to them without requiring any data. There are many different prompting techniques which you can use to reduce this. So we are looking at data acquisition. However, we are still trying to get some sort of data. Okay. Namely, the data is in the form of the syllabus for which the content has to be generated. That is the first thing. Okay. So this is a secondary data since we are not creating the syllabus ourselves. The syllabus already exists. So we are taking syllabus from different universities and we are using that as the secondary data. We are also taking data from Google Scholar. Okay. And we are using this data to check whether we are up to the scratch when it comes to the kind of content which you expect from something like this. As part of data preprocessing, we are doing tokenization, text normalization, and vectorization. These are all very commonly used NLP techniques. Now, there are many different large language models which are available. We tried a lot of different algorithms, right? We have looked at Vicuna, GPT Neo, Gemini Pro, Hugging Face GPT-3, Llama 2, and Llama 3. Now, what we did was we did a comparative analysis of the content which was generated. We looked at whether the content being generated was up to the mark or not. What kind of performance we were getting from these language models? Was it taking a lot of time or not? And we also looked at the robustness there. Explainability is a very important part because a person who's going to use this application to generate the content may not be somebody who is familiar with the workings of a large language model. Okay. And then, of course, we also want plagiarism free. There's not a lot of hyperparameter tuning that you can do since you're using pre-trained models and you're limited by the scope, given the fact that these models are extremely huge. The best model that we got out of this was Gemini Pro, which follows open source model, where up to a certain degree, you have free availability of the model. We did some basic data visualization in the sense that we were comparing the performance of manual generation of content compared to the AI generation. We are looking at things like grammar. Because if you're manually typing out something, of course, it is always going to be full of mistakes. You'll need multiple proofreadings. Compare it to the AI model, it is not like that. And we shared it with our clients using model deployment, which was done using Streamlit. And of course, monitoring and maintenance is a part of any project, and that is what we are doing at the end. Now, this is the model deployment. And here you can see you can submit PDF files up to 200 MB per file. Now, what are these files? Like I said, we got some syllabus files and we are using that. Then we are using our Streamlit application, okay, where we have given the user multiple options. So for example, they can select multiple choice questions, then what kind of options they want to give to the end user, right? Do we want to give any kind of short answer or is it one word, right? And finally, what kind of, do we want a detailed explanation of the output, okay? And then select the number of questions. You can select up to 100 questions at a given time. Of course, there are certain measures in place to ensure that the performance of the model does not depreciate as and when you increase the total number of questions which are being generated. Then we have another example here, right, where we are also using a vector database to set up the data. And this is giving a longer answer. And it is also citing the papers from which it was taken. So this is one way in which you can avoid plagiarism by giving credit to the original worker on that specific project. Okay, so this is the output that we have. So this is all about the project that we worked on. Thank you so much for joining. Now, before you go, I would like to talk a little bit about what we offer as an organization. We offer challenging real-time projects that push you to your limits. We give you the learning for all phases of the project methodology. You get experience in different tools like Python, Power BI, cloud platforms, etc. You work on research papers which are then published in international journals. We also offer various free tools such as mind map, ML architecture assistant, resume optimizer, and animated learning. So thank you so much, everyone who has joined us. Please do follow us on our social media platforms on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn for further such content. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.